I'm Gabe Abshire. This is Connecting the Journey. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Connecting the Journey. The premise of this show is really simple, but sometimes overlooked. As entrepreneurs, we're always looking forward. We're always looking to the next biggest thing, and very rarely do we look back and look at those things that got us where we are today. And I truly feel that if you don't look back, it's impossible to look forward with gratitude. So we're going to have a great conversation with one of our long-term partners here, Mr. Chris Sears, who's the CEO of JPAR Real Estate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Man, really excited to have you. I know you've been with JPAR for how long now?
It'll be 5 years in April.
Okay, and then when the switch to CEO?
A year ago, April.
Okay, a year ago. So it's been awesome to see the change that you've came in and done, and it definitely affects us. But it's fun to sit down with you and chat and get to know you a little bit more.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Chris, I talked to you. Kind of the premise of the show is kind of look back and what were those things that happened during your life that a lot of times we take for granted. So we'll just start from kind of from the beginning. Where'd you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Oh, that's an interesting story.
I have a feeling we've chatted a little bit, and so I'm feeling this is going to be a fun interview. You're going to have a lot of interesting stories. I've been looking forward to this.
So I grew up in Houston, Texas, and my childhood was pretty interesting. My mom and dad, they were, how do I say this?
Spit it out.
Come out with it.
Come on with it.
So my dad was an engineer.
Okay.
But he also was in the drug trade.
All right.
And so he and my mom used to have a lot of parties around drugs and alcohol. And
so 80s, I'm thinking
cocaine, you name it.
All right.
And but he also sold that stuff. And so there was a lot of people in and out of our house. I'm the oldest of three. And those people weren't always having our best interest at heart. So by the time I was 5 years old, I had realized that I was the protector of my little brother and sister. And so without getting into all the details of every single action that happened to get me to the point, by the time I was 13 years old, I was in full-blown rage. I hated the world. I felt like it was a place that was evil, and that I was going to make sure I got mine. That was my mindset. So I got into the same thing that my dad and mom were getting into, and made a lot of money in my teenage years. I was a very violent person, and what I realized at 17 years old is that I was destroying myself and destroying the people around me. I was the kind of person who absolutely loved to fight. I loved the pain. I loved the struggle with it, and it fueled me, and in the worst way possible. And so some things happened when I was 17 years old, including my parents divorcing, that made me look in the mirror and say, "You got to stop. You're better than this."
Yeah.
And so I made that decision, and I got an apartment with my brother on my 18th birthday. We got out of that environment to an extent. My dad moved to New Mexico. My mom moved into an apartment with my little sister, and so there, me and my brother were at 16 and 18 years old in our own apartment. Well,
in Dallas,
Houston, yeah. So that became a little party place.
I'm sure, with the upbringing and the the environment.
So I had decided to stop being violent, but I didn't decide to stop doing everything else.
Yeah.
So within a year, I was burnt out. So what I do? I hitchhiked across the United States, and I ended up in Northern California. Got 3 jobs, and loved the place up there. I actually left Houston with 85 cents in my pocket and a sleeping bag at 19 years old. And
so I got to stop you. Like, you're blowing past my opener here. You're blowing past all these things that happen. There's a ton of questions I want to ask you. Number one, did not expect that. Like, you're super zen. Like, you're very calm. So I would never have guessed that. But lots of questions. But let's just go to probably, like, what made you know that you needed to change, right? I mean, did your parents go to jail? Did they get out of the game unscathed? Or like, what was that moment you said, look, I'm better than this. Like, I got to get out.
I was in a stolen car that was stolen by somebody that was going to be taking me and my brother home. And he was driving. Police tried to pull him over, got in a high-speed chase, wrecked the car, and I was the only 17-year-old. Everybody else was younger, and the police tell me it's a stolen vehicle, and so I went to jail for it.
Oh.
Now, the thing is I got, exonerated after being in jail and being accused and going through the whole process and whatever, and so I just
saw what that looked like.
I'm surrounded. Yeah, I saw what that looked like. And I'm surrounded by people. It's basically guilt by association.
Yeah.
I realized, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life, and who am I hanging out with, and all this stuff? Just forget this.
First realization of you are the influence of the 5 people around you.
That's correct.
You looked 100%. At your circle.
100%. I said I'm doing something different, and I went back and told everybody I'm out. I'm done. I'm walking away from you guys. I'm not having any part of this. And if you're smart, you'll do the same thing. And so from there, I shifted, and that was the summer before my senior year in high school, and so I poured myself back into school. Okay. I got into art, I got into theater, I did whatever I could extracurricular to stay plugged into things that were positive, mm-hmm. and turned it completely around. I was on the verge of dropping out in 11th grade. Because of all that. And so in 12th grade, I came all the way back and graduated high school, and then enrolled in college. And then when I was in San Francisco area, my brother got evicted from our apartment. And so I came back to help him. He moved in with somebody else. Then I didn't have a place to live. Mm. So I ended up having to go knock on my grandparents' door and ask them if I could rent the apartment above their garage.
In San Francisco?
No, it was here in Houston. Okay, so I left everything in San Francisco, came back, and moved in with my grandparents. And that's the first time I was really ever taught boundaries in my life, was when I moved in with them. That was a huge, I didn't know how huge that moment was going to be for me. I literally had never lived with boundaries. Do what I want my whole life.
Doesn't sound like you did.
And
how old were you then? So left Houston, went to San Francisco, came back.
19.
So you spent about a year in San Francisco?
No, I spent about 9 months in Houston in my apartment, went to San Francisco for about 3 months and came back.
Okay.
And when I moved in with my grandparents, my grandfather sat me down. He said, look, there are 2 rules. 1, don't come home under the influence of anything. If you're gonna do it, stay out. Mm. Number 2, curfew is midnight. Don't come home a minute past midnight.
And this is, you're 19.
I'm 19
graduated,
years old.
And you're living in their back apartment.
Yeah.
Right? You're not even in the house.
Right. So
don't set foot on my property that way.
Yeah. So
nice.
If I'm thinking, I'm a grown, I've never lived by this rule ever. Whatever. Okay, Papa, that's what I called him.
Yeah.
And so first night, guess what? I go out, I get inebriated. I come home at about 1:30 in the morning, and he's standing out in the front porch waiting for me. And he's a quiet guy, right? But he's a big guy. He's 6'4", he's commanding respect. Guy, yeah, he's has presence. And I said, hey, Papa, what's up? And he goes, you broke the 2 rules that I gave you the first night. He goes, I am so disappointed in you. And he goes, listen, I'm giving you grace right now by what I'm about to tell you. He goes, I brought a pillow and a blanket. There they are. Sleep on the concrete or go find somewhere else to sleep. He opened the door, walked in, locked it, turned the light off on the porch. I was like, well,
Where's this? Never had this in my
All of a
life.
sudden, man, I was, what in the world? And so then I felt immediate remorse because I respected him and he was doing something for me. So in the morning, I woke up, I knocked on the door. I said, can I please come in and apologize to you? I'm very sorry. This won't happen again. And it didn't. And so then they showed me real love. They helped me balance a checkbook for the first time, helped me open a bank account, helped me go get a job, helped me get enrolled truly the proper way in full-time college. And I lived with them through his passing, my grandfather's passing, and then my grandmother going through cancer. And I became her caregiver before she passed. And I became the executor of their estate, even though they have 4 grown sons, my dad being one of them. During the time that I lived with them, I completely changed. I then became a professional ballroom dancer. Now, it sounds crazy, but I was a bartender, and I didn't want to be in that environment anymore. And so I looked in the green sheet and said dancing, no experience necessary, become a dance instructor. I'm like, okay. So while I'm living with my grandparents, I learned how to ballroom dance. I ended up being trained by 7-time world champions and danced 10 hours a day. And that's what led me to real estate.
Ballroom dancing.
Because so now I'm doing well, right? I'm doing as well as I could in my life. I'm dancing 10 hours a day. I'm working out. I'm eating right. I'm doing all the things.
Going to school currently?
I was going to school. That's how I was putting myself through school.
Yep.
And one of my dance students, I used to teach wealthy ladies how to dance. And one of my dance students owned a real estate company. And she's like, oh, you're so good with people. And so she kept trying to recruit me. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to college. I'm dancing. I'm not doing real estate.
See my life here? It's good.
Yeah, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm in the best spot I've ever been in my life. Thank you, but no thank you. Can we get back to dancing?
Yes.
And so she finally went, look, I'll pay for your classes if you just get in the business. I was like, so I got my real estate license for free. I said, yes, why not?
Yeah.
And then so I joined her brokerage while going to college while I was 21 years old. And but right about that time, people were sharing. There were a couple of people at the dance studio that were sharing with me their faith. And I was like, look, guys, I'm not going to church with you. I'm not interested. Just whatever. Just keep it to yourself. And but they were really good people and good to me. And so finally one day, I had this guy knock on the door at my dad's apartment because I had stayed with my dad that night and my brother. And I answered the door, and he, without getting into all the details, poured his heart and soul out to me and said, if you don't do anything else, listen to me. Go to church tomorrow. And I'm like, it just hit me like,
Some random dude?
some random dude.
Random guy knocked on the door.
Random guy. So I went to church the next day. It was that big, and I felt like the sermon was right to me. So I went and bought a Bible that afternoon and studied the Bible. And 5 days later, got baptized. I fell in love with God during that time. Had quit everything cold turkey. By the way, I had a fiance. Left her because she was uninterested. It was a complete transformation in my life. And I decided to start loving myself, seeing myself as truly worthy of love, living in gratitude, and then trying to help the people around me. That was the place I started that journey. And then, right then, is when I got my real estate license. And this lady came into my life, said, I'll pay for your classes, right?
Yeah.
Right? During all that little transition, all that happened at the same time.
So it's truly a God wink moment.
Total God wink moment.
I mean, seriously. So was the guy at church on Sunday? Was he there? Did you ever see him again?
Oh, no. He didn't
He was just
go to
out
that
witnessing.
church. Yeah. Wow. And he didn't even hardly speak English. But he's like, if you don't take my words, he's like, what do I have? And he pulled out a little 25-cent pack of Wrigley's spearmint gum. And he's like, at least take this if you're not going to take my word. And let this be a reminder that God loves you. I'm like, okay. Wow. That's weird. So that contemplation led to all that one moment. But it was like all of these things happening at the same time to shift my heart and my mind. And so from there, I didn't take a drop of alcohol, didn't do any drugs, I left all my friends.
What was your relationships with drug and alcohol before that? Were you still involved in it, addicted, or lifestyle? Or
it was lifestyle, it was social.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing was to leave that lady that I was wanting to marry. But that kind of commitment, that radical commitment, led to the biggest change of my life, which was working on me more than I'd do anything else. I've lived a life of transformation day by day since then. Things come up, triggers come up, past trauma stuff comes up from my childhood, and then I know I have to deal with me. I have to love me enough to get it right in order so I can be my best for the people around me.
What was that? I mean, you told us about your childhood and growing up, and then when that relationship with God comes in your life and you're like, no, keep it to yourself. Was there some trauma there from growing up in that environment and just, if there's a God, how's this happen? Right? I mean, hard to believe and have faith with what you've had to live with for the last 20 years.
Yeah, actually, that's a great question because when I was 5 years old, and once I started studying, this triggered things back to when I was 5. I was like, God thing, whatever. Basically, me, my brother and sister, that's how we were. I was like, whatever. But I was reminded when I started studying with those guys that my mom used to drop me off at Sunday school when I was 5 years old because I wanted to go. And nobody else in my family wanted to go. So there I was going to Sunday school by myself. They would literally go to the parking lot, let me out, and come back when it was over and pick me up. And so think about it as a 5-year-old. You're like, your parents aren't going, your brother and sister aren't going. It's just you getting dropped off. They won't even set foot in the church.
And the reality check of going from that environment to an environment at church.
Yeah.
It had to be
and
really tough for a 5-year-old.
Yeah, and so once I started studying at 21, all of a sudden I remembered, wait, I was the only one who wanted a relationship with God. Like, why did I want that at 5? And so then I had to dig into all my own childhood stuff, and that's where the transformation really was like, oh, I'm learning who I am for real now at 21.
Did you look back and think that you had a relationship with him the whole time?
Yeah, actually, when the guy started studying with me, So when the guy started studying with me, they basically were outlining things that were saying, you're not a Christian. And they weren't outright saying it, but that's the way I interpreted it. Yeah. And I got mad at them. I got really mad at them. I actually stood up and challenged them to a fight in the middle of Denny's. Like, what?
Trigger's coming back.
Like, yeah.
You don't know me like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you just met me. Well, But I went back and I studied what they had shared with me, and I broke down. I just broke down crying. Because I was humbled, I was broken, and I realized that I was not treating myself or my relationship with God with the honor and respect and love it deserved.
And
boom.
Yeah. And looking back and seeing your journey and seeing where he put you at now, you got to look back and say, he had to be there with me the whole time. Like, how to survive it. Like you probably go back 100 times when you're in situations where you probably shouldn't even be here.
Oh, yeah.
100
at least. Yeah. At least. And so now I'm grateful every day for life because there are many people who lived through what I lived through and didn't make it.
Yeah.
So I do things like go into prisons and teach entrepreneurship, and there's so many things I do. But I wake up every morning and I make a decision to be grateful for the breath in my lungs and the blood flowing through my veins and another day to live. And I know that sounds cliche, but man, it is so deep in me because of all the hardship.
Yeah.
And then coupled with the awareness of the serendipitous moments that happen, the like you say, God wink moments, they happen almost daily.
Yeah.
And if you are open, you will recognize them, and then you will put them into place, and you will receive them. Yep, 100%. So,
wow, didn't expect that as an opener, man.
Yeah,
that's we could probably go for another 2 hours, but I'd love to definitely talk more about that. But let's it's good to know. A lot of people don't, they always see above the iceberg, right? They don't see what is here, what's below it, right, and all the hardships. And so it's good to have that foundation understanding about you, about what made you the man you are today. All right, so dance partner pays for your real estate. You're 21 years old, right?
Yep.
And you get into the real estate business, right? Took the chance. Of course, you're going to pay for my license. Yeah, I'm not stupid. Yeah, I'm going to do that, right?
That's right. And so at that moment, I was at the top of my performance level. I was clean. I was clear. I was sober. I was bright. And I get into real estate.
What's your favorite dance?
I like West Coast swing, salsa, and tango. Those are my three favorites.
Nice. And do you still dance?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Not professionally, but
yeah. You surprise folks at an event.
I surprise people all the time.
I bet you do. I bet you do. You doing something at the JPAR Christmas party? Little ballroom dance action?
I'm dancing every single chance we have a party at JPAR.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm going to have to make the next one to see that. All right, so what was it like getting in the real estate? So give me a context on the year. When was this?
1996.
Okay, so fairly good market coming out of the 80s. I mean,
it was a decent market.
Yeah, decent market.
But I was 21 years old and didn't know a lick of people that was thinking about buying or selling real estate.
Right. Started from scratch.
So I door knocked. I door knocked sometimes for 10 hours a day for the first 6 months, and I almost quit. And in month 7 of my career, I had 5 closings, and then between months 7 and 12, I made $108,000. And at 21 years old, I was pretty happy back.
Yeah. In Houston, Texas.
Part-time as a college student.
Oh, so you were still going to college and still dancing or teaching?
So I made the transition out of dancing, replaced it with real estate, but was still going to college full-time.
Okay.
And so then when I made $100,000, I'm like, wait, my degree's only going to make me $60,000 coming out of college. So as second-year college student, I quit and focused fully on real estate.
And if you look back, I mean, it's a different way to look back, but the entrepreneur spirit was all around you.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
I mean, you definitely grew up and saw another side of it. So it was the good part of that was planted in you.
Yeah, that's right.
What was your career? I mean, what was your degree? What was it going to be?
I was going to do business and a minor in performing arts.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted to go into the either the music industry or Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, $100,000 the first 7-8 months. First year, that's going to definitely change your trajectory.
It certainly did.
So, what did it look like from there? What was your path in real estate after your first year?
So I was at ERA. I stayed with that firm for 3 more years. Then I built a house. My wife and I got married. Matter of fact, I got married to the lady who had originally referred the guys to study the Bible with me. I ended up marrying her, and she's the mom of my 2 boys.
How old are your boys?
Those 2 are 19 and 23.
Okay, awesome. Are they in the area? Are they in Houston or where?
The 19-year-old is in Prescott, Arizona at Embry-Riddle University studying aeronautical science. He wants to be a fighter pilot. And so he's going to graduate second lieutenant in the Air Force. And then his older brother is already in the Air Force in Guam.
Okay.
He's tech on the big Reaper drones.
Yeah.
It's always what he wanted to do. So he's doing that.
Do you play video games growing up?
Exactly.
Really?
He was the video game guy.
Okay.
So,
and where you like, get off those games. It's in
yeah.
your brain.
And now it's like,
now it's like
he's developed 10,000 hours of practice, you know.
wow.
So.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to give you a break a little bit on your video games, but my son, he's not too bad, but you know, I always think about that somebody, I mean, there's a career for that now. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. So which one of those are in the metal band?
Oh no, so those are my two that were from her.
Okay.
So their mom and I were married for 15 years.
Okay.
But I built a house out about 21 miles away from my real estate office. So that's why I left ERA and I joined Keller Williams. It was right next to my house, and we were about to have my first son, who's 23 now.
Okay.
And so from there, I ended up running that Keller Williams office I joined. It's 10 months later, and then ended up running 6 Keller Williams offices in Houston up until 2008. And I wrote a white paper for KW Commercial, which was just a concept that I had a vision for because I started selling commercial real estate. My first year, I sold a retail center.
Okay.
And so from 97 to 2008, I had been doing commercial real estate from residential real estate companies basis.
Have they changed that license yet? It always blows my mind that it's the same license for commercial as residential.
It's the same license.
And is there any commercial content on the test?
No.
Yes. Still blows my mind. I figured they would change that.
But it's a little weird. Yeah. But so we launched KW Commercial in 2008,
which makes sense to launch that. Like there's no other education, there's no license. Like
and you're build a commercial division.
Yeah, and you're talking to people that have that in their portfolio.
Bingo.
Yeah.
By then I was a single dad. So I had my 2 boys, and I had custody of my boys, and I decided I wanted to launch a commercial team. To show everyone at Keller Williams that you could build a commercial team inside this organization. And I had a partner, her name was Jennifer, and so she and I launched Red Commercial inside KW Commercial. And we did that in wonderful timing, September 9th, 2008.
Oh, perfect.
4 days before the capital markets froze. Commercial real estate is like, not transacting. But what we did was we shifted. We said, you know what? Everybody's going to be running for the hills. We're going to run right into the fire because there's going to be a leadership vacuum with the clients and in the marketplace. They need answers, and the people who normally represented them are going to be checked out because they're not going to make any money. They're not going to have transaction churn or whatever. It's our time to gain market share. So we went headlong into focusing on gaining as many listings as possible in the hospitality space, hotels, resorts, things like that. In that first year, we did $2 billion in production. By the end of that year, so September 2009, we had $1.7 billion in assets under our control. And a guy called me up named Howard Rambin, who owns Moody Rambin Interests, the largest commercial independent firm in Texas. And he said, I want to buy your book of business. I was like, what? I said, we're not a brokerage. We're just a team inside. He goes, I don't care. You got listings, don't you? It's like, yeah. He goes, okay, let's talk. So we ended up selling our book of business to Moody Rambin, and so we left Keller Williams. And that was huge for us.
Yeah. So your listings or your property management, what did he buy?
He bought the equitable interest in all our listing contracts. That $1.7 billion portfolio, he bought the equitable interest in all that. So our commission pool that we were to receive from that, he bought all that and paid up front for it.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That's a game changer. Yeah. And so it was still in the kind of when the commercial real estate was down.
Uh-huh.
During that time. So just parallel, how do you you went through that in '08. What do you think about what's going? We're change the subject in the commercial real estate now. Do you think it's as bad as?
It's not as bad. It's not as bad. If you look at the office market is way just struggling because COVID really changed that game.
Right.
So what we're looking at now is office asset owners are having to turn those things into condos, office condos, mixed use, which has already happened in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And happened before COVID. It was much more the norm in other parts of the world. We in the United States have had a problem of urban sprawl and so forth and so on, and comfortability and all this stuff. So kind of bloated things, and then COVID made it really bad. So you're seeing now asset owners in major metropolitan areas in the United States start to convert a single office building into a few floors retail, a few floors restaurants, a few floors hotel, a few floors office, a few floors residential.
Yeah.
So that you can live, work, play all in the same building. You never have to walk outside.
Yeah. Huge need for that too.
Yeah.
It's tough to do it where rates are now, but I think the kind of A office space is doing well, but I think it's the B's and C's that are struggling, especially here in Texas.
That's correct.
The C's it costs so much to do that. I think we're going to see a lot of buildings being imploded, and those type of buildings built from the ground up, which I think is going to be great for folks that want to live in the city.
It will be.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time in that particular segment of the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. So did you exit commercial real estate after that, or did you stay in it, or what was the shift after?
Yeah. So, no, we started a consulting firm, coaching and consulting brokers and agents in growth and strategy. We did that until 2012, and our schedule was full. We were coaching 7 of the top 20 brokers in Houston, and then one of our clients was an independent in Houston. Husband and wife started it, and they saw me speak at an event. I was a keynote speaker at a power broker event, and they came to me afterward and said, "Hey, we're really struggling. We would like to see what you can do to help us turn the thing around." So I built a 1-year plan. 4 months into the plan, he came to me and told me he had stage 4 lung cancer, and that they were giving him about 6 months to live. And so at that lunch, I told him that if he did pass away, that I would make sure that his family didn't lose their income. I'd make sure the company would survive at all costs. So he passed away 5 months later, and my wife and I decided to honor the promise. Now, remember, I was single. Now, in between that time, my business partner, the one that I started
The
commercial with,
yeah.
she was also a single mom with 2 boys. And so by 2013, she and I were dating. She told me, "You will be the last guy I'll date." Well, I fell in love, and I get pretty persistent. So we were dating, and so she was also my partner in the consulting firm. We both agreed that I should honor my promise. And so for my consulting fee, I shut down my consulting firm because it would be conflict of interest for me to run this company.
Sure.
And I spent 5 years of my life honoring the promise I made to the guy before he died. And that company ended up leading me to actually my relationship with you.
Yeah, it was one of our first back agent shops. And where did back agent fit into that?
Back agent was created at that company that I ended up taking over. The founder of Back Agent, the person who passed away, was his dad.
Okay, right. Okay.
And so then I took over basically running the company, took his dad's place, and grew that company from 300 to 1,200 agents over that 5-year period.
Wow.
And so then in late 2018, I went back to his mom, basically the widow, and said, "Okay, promise fulfilled. It's yours now. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go build with my family again." And so my wife and I.
How was that? How was that with her? I mean, what was her? I mean, that's got to be a huge, lots of emotions that for her. It was husband and you. I mean,
tremendous.
Was she? Did she get back in the business? And
no,
she sold it.
Yeah, I created a training program for her kids to run it.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
So her kids run it.
Oh, awesome. So you really
I helped. I did. I helped her with her trust. I helped her with her will. I built a training program for her kids to run it. I handed it off smoothly. I spent 6 months making sure that the handoff was smooth. And when I actually resigned, they were seriously worried that I was going to recruit.
Oh, wow.
Against them. And I looked down and I said, do you not know who I am by now?
Yeah.
I said, I just spent 5 years of my life honoring a promise I made to him, to your dad, and I'm not turning around on that now. So I will not. Well, they were blown away by that. And I honored that promise all the way through. I said, look, if those agents call me, all bets are off. But I am not going to pick up the phone and call a single agent.
Right.
And so my wife and I started looking at all the brands, who was really there to empower a real estate agent, who had the tools, the technology, the ecosystem, the culture. We looked at every single brand, and we were so disappointed. We were about to start our own independent, and JPAR called and said, come up to Dallas. We want to show you what we got. And I fell in love with it.
Who called you from JPAR?
JP.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Me and him are really good friends. It's fun to see. It's been fun to have a front row seat to kind of his journey and what he's doing, and it's the culture he built there. It's really cool to see that that's still going on, right? I mean, there's changes and things are evolving, but the core culture that he built of empowering agents and teaching and learning and coaching programs like that is still very, very strong.
It's very robust. That's right.
And so it seems like so you worked with, came on board for JP. Did you have a team at the time, or was it just you and your wife?
No, so we actually bought the Houston market as franchisees.
Okay.
And it was just me and my wife. And there were already 9 JPAR agents in Houston. So we took over. And in 4 years, we grew it to right at about 500 agents in Houston.
That's a good clip.
Yeah, it was boom. And the great thing was we didn't really have a recruiting team. Zero. It was our agents being really happy and referring other agents. Organic. And that's what it still is. Organic growth all the way.
Align values.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. They can see it. They can, because I'm sure they're shopping around, and some people want to go here or there, but I think our companies are similar in that. Like when I meet with someone, it's all about the value alignment, right? Mm-hmm. If it doesn't align, then you're going to be fighting it the whole way.
That's right.
It's just there's going to be issues and drama, and I don't like drama in my life.
Me either. No. I had enough of it way back.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, you had your fill for the first 10 years of your life. Let's talk about your role now. So that was in 2018. You took over the franchise.
2019, April 2019.
Oh, great timing.
Yep.
That you came over to JPAR.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then so you grew the Houston market in 4 years, over 500 agents.
That's right.
Okay. Awesome.
And so then JPAR ownership changed hands, and we were week over week the whole time we've been at JPAR. We were the number one fastest growing and largest franchise in the system. Now the system is in 31 states and still growing, and so since 2019 it's jumped into 31 states. And so I was asked to come be the president of the Texas-owned entity about 9 months ago.
Okay.
And so lots of shift, lots of change, lots of growth. I have traveled across Texas 78,000 miles in that 9 months.
Wow.
Really pouring into agents and plugging in, assessing what their needs are in each individual market, and have built an entire plan to take it to the next level for them. Because the way we look at this is, look, the agent is a business owner. Okay?
Absolutely.
It's not the brokerage that should look at themselves as a business owner. We should look at our agents as business owners and come alongside them as a partner and show them the way to be the best. agent, very much like a franchisor should do to a franchisee. Here are the models, the systems, and the tools necessary for you to plug into to grow and be profitable. Because, and this is near and dear to my heart, because as you know, my wife and I, we built a book of business and sold it as agents. And that changed our lives back in 2009. Yeah. Well, I want every agent to have that opportunity. It is deeply ingrained in me. I know what it feels like to have been able to do that and reap the reward of that.
And very rare in real estate, right?
That's right.
Agents are business owners. They run their own business, but very rarely do they have a book of business to be able to sell and have some type of liquidity event like you had.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because the mindset in the industry has always been that the brokerage is the business owner, agents work for them, even though they're 1099. There's all those caveats. Or the brokerage treats the agent like a customer or client and says, well, look, you're our client, you're a customer. We want you to succeed, so let us upsell you this, upsell you that, upsell you the other thing. And so then that shapes the agent's self-perception. And so if you don't look at yourself as a business owner, you're not going to think like a business owner. You're not going to think about P&Ls. You're not going to think about general ledger. You're not going to think about return on invested dollar in a certain specific space or return on invested time or a vision for building an organization. You're just out there acting like it's a job.
Yeah, and your biggest thing is you're not going to act like an owner.
Bingo. And that's where the shift needs to happen. So you got to plug into an environment where you're surrounded by people who think differently. And I learned that way back.
Yeah.
Right? At 17.
Yeah, exactly.
So we are relentless about building out that environment for agents and making it better.
That's awesome, man. And it's been really fun to see because we interact with your agents a lot. Y'all, we host you at our office, and so we see the culture like right there in front of us. And so it's happening. And I've seen it change in the nine months I think you've been there.
Yeah, that's right.
And I can't wait to see what's coming next. Because I think you've just been kind of figuring some things out, gathering data, getting your plan together, and really ready to launch things. So
that's right.
24 is going to be a big year.
It is. It really is. We've got momentum.
Yes, for sure. And I think in the market in general, hope things are going to get better. But at the end of the day, there's still plenty of people moving. Right?
Yeah.
There's, we're down 1.2 million or people moving throughout the country. There's still 4 or 5 million people moving. There's a lot.
That's
correct.
correct.
A lot of opportunity, and it's fun to be able to see the agents that are serious about it, that see the opportunity, they're going and getting it, and you're giving them the tools to do that, and to think like an owner, to take advantage of the opportunity that we have. And there's some contrast between the 08 and 9, right? It's going to come back, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's not wait till it gets there. Let's build the foundation. Let's get everything in order so when it comes back, we're ready to take advantage of it.
Matter of fact, what I say to our agents is, look, listings are leverage. Every buyer, once the market turns, every buyer will have to go through you. Whether they're represented by a buyer's agent or they're coming to you directly, they will have to go through you to get to that house or to that property.
Yeah.
So it's your time to gain market share by gathering as many listings as possible. Focus on listings. And so as the interest rates start to click down or you get indicators of it, buyers are going to come off the sideline, and guess who's going to reap the reward? Listing agents and those sellers, because you're going to go back to multiple offers. You're going to go back to that entire situation.
And the agents that's been planting those seeds along the way.
Along the way.
It's years, 2-3 years of that. And people are just waiting. We talked about it earlier, like what's the number? Like what's the interest rate number? But it's going to be different for everyone. But each one of those ticks are going to have a tranche of people that are like, let's go.
Yep, that's right.
So, well, what do you, get to any of your questions? You did really well. Strong out of the gate. What's your favorite thing about working with agents in this role? I mean, you've kind of been in this role in some capacities for a while, right? But what really excites you about the opportunity with JPAR?
I love to give people the knowledge, the systems, and the tools to go and implement and make an abundant life for themselves and their families. With every person, that's a little different, but what it comes down to is this is a relationship role, and we're in a relationship business. And so the best thing, and this is going to sound really cheesy and cliche, and I lose half the people every time I say it, but I do not care because it's the truth. The best thing you can do is master love. And if you learn to love people well, you cast out judgment. You're able to stay curious. You're able to learn about them, and you're able to then help them with the battles they're facing in their life, and that brings them joy and peace and patience and all the good things, and that adds value to you, including in the marketplace. So my favorite thing to do is to sit with people, really be present with them, understand them, and then see their pain points and love them enough to help them in their journey.
It's beautiful.
That's what I love, man.
I mean,
that's why you probably feel. You said I was zen. Is that what you?
Very like, very zen. When you came out of the gate with that, you love to fight and love the pain. Like I would not expect that. But then hearing your journey and hearing, how big of influence God has in your life. I mean, that calms a lot of things.
It does.
And if you're looking to help people and love people, then you're not always talking about yourself or thinking about yourself. You're thinking about others.
That's right. And the money comes.
Yeah.
As a result, because like Jim Rohn said, the marketplace is made up of people. And if you want to make a lot of money, you bring value to the marketplace. Therefore, bring value to people. So work harder on yourself than you do anything else.
Yep.
And then the rest will take care of itself.
Right. If you're not in a good place, I tell our people all the time, look, if you can't hold yourself accountable every day, you can't hold anybody else accountable. Right?
Straight
up. You got to
self-discipline.
You got to start on yourself and love yourself, because if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
100%.
Well, man, I really appreciate the time. We could rock and roll for hours. There's a lot of stuff I would like to dig in. We might have to have a session 2,
sure,
and dig into it. But thanks for the time. We're really excited about our partnership going forward. We've been partnered back since JP was around, but it's fun to see the evolution of the company, and I'm really excited to see what's coming next and how we can add value to our partnership.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, thanks for joining us on Connecting the Journey again. This has been an awesome show. We're definitely going to have a round 2 to dig deeper into some of this. But listen, I liked what you said, Chris. I mean, you got to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And part of that love is taking some time and looking back and seeing where you came from, so you can go forward with a heart full of gratitude. So have a great day. Talk to you soon.